Olha, eu vou te falar uma coisa. Se você assistiu a Cartoon Network quando era criança, bem na época em que o canal estava no auge, meus parabéns, porque você provavelmente foi muito feliz. Porque, sério, o tanto de desenho bom que tinha ali não tá escrito. Eu sempre destaco esses três em especial, que são Apenas um Show, Hora de Aventura e O Incrível Mundo de Gumball, porque pra mim,
Thank you very much for doing this with us. We really appreciate it. This is an oral history interview with Ken Thompson. It's March 15th, 2024. We're in Sea Ranch, California, and I'm David Brock. So Ken, you were born in 1943 in New Orleans?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about just your family background?
My father was a military Navy pilot, and he was in flight training. This was right, in the beginning of the war, and he was in flight training to become, a fighter pilot. And we were stationed in New Orleans for just a little while. I mean, flight training kind of thing. And I was born. Then we moved on. So New Orleans is not exactly my hometown.
Right.
It was 2 months there.
Well, I was just asking you a little bit about your mom and her background.
She was basically just a military housewife. It's a very hard job. You move and especially if your dad is on ships, on carriers, then she has to really move all by herself, drag 3 kids along. It was and then 2 years every place. She never settled down, never had a home.
Was that the rhythm of your guys moving from post to post?
Yes,
2 years?
2 years, yes.
2-3 years, yeah.
We were sometimes as short as 6 months, sometimes as long as 3 years. But that was the range. 2 is average.
And you were living abroad for some of those times?
Yes. I was 4th and 5th grades in Tokyo and Yokohama, respectively. And I was in 9th, 10th, and 11th grades in Naples, Italy.
And were you what was your sort of, before getting to high school, so what was your education sort of like in those moves? Would you go to a school on a base, or
no,
how did it work?
The bases were overseas. We went on schools over base, but we'd just go into the local community public school. It was very strange because I'm not sure you realize exactly how different public schools are in different pieces of the country. Like I would go, I don't want to pick on any particular state, but let's call Texas. I moved from California to Texas for 2 years and learned nothing, absolutely nothing. The only new thing that I got was Texas history and Spanish. That was it. And then I moved to a very good school in military school in Naples, Italy, where I was 2-3 years behind. But it was exciting. It was exceptional. I had a older sister who was a homebody, and every move was the death. It was disastrous beyond, and she'd cry about it for months before we actually moved, and then she'd come home and say, Janie's mom will take me. You just leave me here. I'll go. And then when she moved, she'd be in a funk until she found a couple of girlfriends, and so that was every 2 years. And my brother was the opposite. I was in the middle. My brother was the opposite of me. He was I guess a bully, a bad boy kind of guy, and he was with the police. He was always on his 8th life when we moved. And he got to start over, some other place. So he was ready to go. So that's the bringing up.
How just about your siblings? How did their lives unfold? Just be interested to hear.
My brother, being a brute and a bully, became a cop. And he went into the military.
Okay.
Was a paratrooper in Germany, and then was a surveyor for the city of San Diego, and then a cop for San Diego. And my sister, almost nothing. She just drifted and went around. She was at home. She got married like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and back and forth. She just drifted. She had no profession or goal.
One thing that I learned about in preparing for the interview was one thing that came up was how much contract bridge was an activity, I think, of your parents, if I got the story right.
Yeah, my parents were very big in bridge, very big, and my sister got it. The whole family had to play, but I quit very early. Like in high school, I'd be drug off to these contract bridge tournament local things, right? And to me, it was, you could see marriages just crashing, where they'd yell and scream at each other and throw things, and it wasn't a friendly game. Contract bridge is not fun for me. And so I quit. Towards my senior year in college, I used to go down to the local lounge or whatever in the dorm or whatever and play, mainly just to pick up girls, and I'd just play stupid. I wouldn't remember the card. I'd purposely not remember cards and things like that. But it was social, and it was much more fun then.
And what were, sometimes households will have like a big theme in them, like politics or religion or art or learning. Do you think there was a theme like that kind of in your household?
No, except moving. Being a military family. As far as religion goes, my mother said we had to have religion. My dad had none, and my mother would enroll us in the nearest. It doesn't matter what denomination. It was non-denominational in that sense, but the nearest church. And then again, in Texas, I remember that I went to the Calvary Baptist Church, if you know, kind of the screaming and the fainting and the speaking in tongues. And it was, I enjoyed it. It was a real show. I mean, it was impressive. And then I made a contract with my mom that if I read the Bible, I'd be exempt. And I read the Bible and I was exempt. And so that was the end of my church, right around 8th grade.
Okay. Thinking about, again, this period kind of before high school, were you, just thinking about sort of the activities that you were into as a youth, were you a big reader? Were you into tinkering? What sorts of things were you doing?
Well, again, I moved every 2 years, so I would build up a hobby. but then the hobby wouldn't move with me. You know, it'd be too much or too big or too whatever. And so I had really eras of hobby every time we moved. Let me think of the grades. In 7th grade, there was a vacant lot next door, and I built forts in there. You know, dug big holes and stole lumber, and you know, I mean, they were massive, and they were all connected by telephones and were wired with lights and solenoids for the doors and things like that. So before that, in Japan, I started the electricity stuff and radios, built radios, repaired radios. That was 5th and 6th grade, kind of. Mm-hmm. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Did telephones. We were in a housing area, and the housing area had a barbed wire fence around it. And the fence was held up by wooden posts, wooden as opposed to steel. And I took the two top barbed wires and used them as a telephone line to my friend's house. And I had to jump. There's like 2 gates that were never used. Okay. But I had to jump those because there were discontinuities. But we used to talk over this this telephone system. That's such a fancy word for what it was. And
Camila engravidou, pois é. E ela já engravidou outra vez também, onde ela, infelizmente, a que tudo aparenta, ela perdeu o bebê. O que é uma pena, assim, é uma coisa horrível e muito triste. E hoje a gente tem muita coisa pra falar. Estou com essa cara aqui destruída. Sabe por quê? Ele tava limpando casa, né? Tava limpando casa. Fiz ali um skincare, cheguei a tentar finalizar o cabelo, né? Fui limpar a casa e terminei assim, igual um mendigo. Normal. normal, normal. Vocês podem me falar a verdade? Outra coisa, duas coisas. Temos um ganhador do desafio da academia que eu fiz há meses atrás, que eu perdi novamente. Vou ter que dar 800 conto pra pessoa. Foda, né? Eu ainda tô escolhendo e aí depois eu solto aí o cara que eu vou... Que o cara ou a mina, que eu vou mandar o dinheirinho aí, que vai todo mundo ficar feliz no final. E live, hein? Tô fazendo... Acredita de pé junto que o Ítalo Santos, que está, graças a Deus, condenado, não vai ficar 10? Dá pra sair ali por